Everybody, in this video, I'm going to show you how I turned this 20-year-old Game Boy Advance SP into something a little bit more modern. Let's take a look at it. Now, this is the Game Boy Advance SP. It's about 20 years old. It's been through the ringer, and I thought it was a dead console, but really, it's actually making a comeback. This is probably my favorite handheld gaming console, and I recently got into soldering and working with motherboards all because of this guy. This is Steve from Tronics Fix, and he has an awesome channel where he fixes gaming consoles and teaches you how to solder. So I went out and got my own little set and started learning from him, and then I found out that there's this community that are taking these Game Boy Advance SPs and they're upgrading them to add better screens, better charging, even putting new shells on and making the buttons glow and stuff like that. And I figured, you know what, why don't we go ahead and give it a shot and see what we can do. So let's go ahead and jump on over to when I built this one right here and show you the whole little process, and then we'll talk about what I plan to do with these things. Okay, so the first thing I want to address is this line right here. I don't know why it recorded that way, but it did. I apologize. I'm better than that. But getting into this build, we had to unscrew everything and then also unscrew the cover, which holds the battery. And the battery was actually in really good shape, so I think we're going to reuse that one for this build. No need to switch it out when it's in such good shape. So once that was removed, there's just one extra screw we had to get in there and pull that out, and we're basically able to open it up. Now, it's almost disconnected completely from the shell. There are 3 screws that are holding the motherboard onto the shell, so we have to take those off. And then from there, on the other side, we have to disconnect the ribbon cable, which is the ribbon cable for the screen connected to the motherboard. So once we unclip that from the motherboard, we are going to be able to take it out, which I will figure out why I'm messing around with this so much. Okay, so we did have to untake the cover there for the ribbon and then also just unclip it. And now we have the upper part of the shell, which has the old screen in there, and we really have no use for it. So I think we're just going to put this off to the side. I may use that for something later, who knows. But from here, we're just basically going to remove all the button membranes because they're really dirty, they're old. I have new ones I'm going to be putting in with the new buttons anyways, so it's no big deal. So we just remove those. And then from here, we're going to be able to start doing a bunch of the modifications that we really want to start doing. And I think the first thing we need to do is change out the charging right there. So we're going to work on that. But before that happens, I did remember that we need to start working on this. And what this is the advanced power cleaner. Because when you put all these extra parts in there, there's some sound distortion, and this cleans it up a bit. So we need to take some of this tape and cover up a lot of the pins that are connecting the cartridge reader, because when you put this on, it could possibly ruin the ability to read games. Once that's on there, and we'll get to the power cleaner here pretty soon, but then I start to unsolder the connector for the charging port. And then once that was disconnected, then I got the rest of the solder up off of there so I could have some clean mounting holes to put the USB-C port onto the motherboard. So from here, just cleaning up everything up with some of that copper braid, and then we got the USB-C port on there, and I'm just putting some solder on to connect everything and making sure everything looks really good. And that was actually a pretty simple process. Really happy how that turned out. And then we just had to connect it to the back. There's just one little pin, and we took care of that, and it was great. Now here, I was installing the Advanced Power Cleaner Flex from Helder's Game Tech, and this was pretty easy to put on as well. But then now this one is the LED panel that goes onto the motherboard that makes the buttons glow. And from here, we moved on to the ISP screen. Now this screen does look a lot different than the original. I can't express how much better it is, but here's the best part of having that screen installed. We put the tape on the back to get everything set with the ribbon, but then once we were done with that, it was time for probably everyone's favorite thing to do with new hardware. Nothing better than that. Love it. Now, there is a little bit of a trick here. You have to roll the cable up because it is on the hinge that is on the shell, and it's going to be going back and forth. So there's a special way of doing it. You just kind of roll it up, and then you would be able to plug it into the motherboard. And this was very necessary to do it right here like this. I probably could have done this earlier to test the screen, but you do want to test the screen before you do a full install. So put the battery on there, and then just kind of flip the switch, see if the lights turn on, and boom, we got it. Screen's working great, looks awesome, really happy with that. From here, we were getting the other part of the shell ready. I already had new membranes in there, but I need to put the clear buttons in. So what I end up doing is removing the membranes, putting the clear buttons in, because we did want the LED panel to glow through the buttons. And you can change those colors, which is really cool. Love that feature. Now here's the hardest part, and a lot of people have a lot of difficulty with, is getting the hinges out. You have to use the original hinges from your SP. So looked up some tutorials on how to remove them. Wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, but they were a little bit of a pain in the butt. But in the end, we were able to get them out and put them into the new shell. Had to put a little bit of force, using the table to pop them in, but it worked out just fine. And then we put the black ends on them so that they would match the color of the shell. Now from here, just connect the ribbon onto the motherboard and make sure it's seated in really well. And also is really important to put the cover of the hinge back on, and then you screw it in from the back. And that's really important. Now from here, I was just kind of getting all the screws set into place. I did remember to put the speaker in some point in that time right there. And then the final screws in the back. And then there's a 3D printed cover to fill up the space for the USB-C cover. Got that in there. Finished putting all the rest of the screws in the back. Replaced the battery. And also replaced the battery cover. Screwed that into place. And from there, we had a brand new Gameboy Advance SP. I was really hoping it'd work, and it did. And the cool part, the buttons are really, really bright, and also there's different levels of brightness. So yeah, this Gameboy Advance SP is basically brand new. It's got an upgraded screen, which is much brighter and looks a lot different than the original. And it has clear buttons, which do glow because of the added LED panel that I soldered onto the motherboard. And I think the best part of all is that it now has USB-C charging, which is much more commonly accessible to people in our day and age. Now, I'm not going to be keeping these. I do want to sell them and get them out to the public. And I kind of went a little bit overboard, and I bought a lot of other SPs off of eBay. So I have motherboards to use. Most of these are working great. There's a couple that need to be fixed up just a little tiny bit, but I do want to convert these into, like the first one that I just did. And yes, this was my first mod that I've ever done, which was this one. And I want to do other ones, or even make some custom SPs. There's a lot of other really cool options out there. There's even ones that have metal casing. But I think the best way to get these out to the public, if anybody wants to invest in a retro handheld console like this, is probably to go to my Discord channel, which is down below, and then check out what we're talking about and maybe how to get these into people's hands. I'm thinking about maybe opening up an Etsy store. There'll probably be some information down there, or even in the description of this video. I'll probably add it on there once I get it all set up. And I might be willing to just take people's SPs that they have at home, and they can send them in, and I can do the upgrades, whatever you want on there. I don't know, small little business I'm kind of starting up, but I'm having a lot of fun with these. But if you are interested, go ahead and check out my Discord channel down below. There should be a link down there, and we can start talking about maybe getting one of these into your hands. And if you made it this far in the video, then make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do a whole bunch of stuff, gaming and soldering stuff, and just a whole bunch of different, content that I feel like making these days. And if you're into bodybuilding and working out, I do stream all of my workouts on Twitch, so you can go and check out that link down below. Hope to see you there. I stream Monday through Friday, some Saturdays, and we have a lot of fun over there. And for those of you who are in Arizona, I am performing in Beauty and the Beast as Gaston at the Hale Theater in Gilbert, Arizona from July 7th all the way through August 19th. So make sure you get your tickets because they're selling out really, really fast. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time.